Since breaking my neck and ending up paralysed when I was 18, one of the main questions I get asked all the time is, why am I so happy? Why am I always tend to be positive? Well, first of all, I'm not always happy. And secondly, I'm not always positive. But I suppose the perception of someone that's severely paralysed, the perception is, well, if they were me, they would not be that happy and they would struggle with it. I can understand that. But I want to address the question of whether happiness is a choice and whether I chose to be happy, choose the positive way. And that's what I'm going to talk about in today's podcast. Is happiness a choice? And I don't think it is, and I'm going to explain why. I'm Steven Webb, and this is Stillness in the Storms, and I help you to find a little inner peace when you might find it difficult to have, especially during difficult times. And I broke my neck at 18 years old and diving into a swimming pool. And since then, yes, I'm paralysed in a wheelchair. And yes, I've got other problems with my life. Things like I suffer from something called autonomic dysreflexia, which basically means if anything goes wrong below my level of injury, my blood pressure goes really high. And we're talking sometimes of like 240 over 160. So it's like, it's not just high a little bit, it's really high. And it's dangerous, and it can lead to a stroke or death in about 20, 30 minutes. So it's a medical emergency, and it needs my carers to deal with it. And okay, normally it's because I need to go to the toilet, or I've got something else wrong with me, I'm sitting on a crease, or something's really hurting me that I'm not realizing because I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything below just about my nipples. That's the easiest way of explaining it. And I don't feel my hands either, they're all paralysed as well. So I've got loads of other problems. It's not just that I'm paralysed, but yes, I'm essentially quite a happy person. And I do toil with that question, is why am I happy and why other people aren't? And you might look at it and go, well, maybe when you have a serious accident and you face death like I did, maybe you realise the importance of life. Yeah, it could be. It could be something like that. Or maybe it's just that I was born this way. Maybe it's in my DNA. But then I look at my parents and my family and no, they're not as positive and as happy as me. Not all the time. And would they be in my position? I don't know. Maybe our genes are set up that if we have a catastrophic accident and maybe the genes are like, oh, we'll all realign and be happy. I don't think that's the case, but who knows? So really, is happiness a choice? And I used to think it was. I used to think I chose to be happy. I wake up in the morning and I choose to be happy. And yes, essentially, I choose to do my gratitude practice. I choose to do the positive things. I choose to try to find the gift in situations. Like, I don't think of an alternative to my accident through rose-tinted glasses. I don't think of, like, if my accident hadn't happened, I don't think I would have been majorly successful. I would have been rich. I would have had my dream car, dream house, dream family, picket fence, all that. Traveled the world, done everything. I don't think that would have happened. I think I'd have probably ended up in a worse accident. I was an idiot driving the car. I was the kind of person that, if bones could be broke, I found a way of doing it. And I just happened to break probably the worst bone in my body. So yeah, I'd have probably made my life a whole lot worse. If I hadn't ended up in a wheelchair like this, my life would have probably been worse. So one thing, I don't look at my life as I've got the bum deal. I just have the deal I got. There was no other deal on the table. It is what it is. So that's one thing I tend to always remember. But as I'm getting older, and the more I think about it, the more I think I don't choose anything. If you really think about that, the moment I choose happiness, that means I'm denying my sad times. I'm denying unpleasantness. I'm trying to push away what I don't like. So therefore that creates a duality. I want this and I don't want that. And therefore I choose preferences. And therefore I label everything as, I really don't like that and I do like this. I like them, I do not like them. That's a good person to hang around with. That's a bad person to hang around with. That's a good opinion. That's a bad opinion. That's nice ice cream. That's terrible ice cream. So when you think of happiness as something you choose, you have to automatically have the yin yang and the opposite to that. And yes, of course it's true. There's people I prefer to be with, and there's ice cream I prefer to eat. I have preferences, of course I do. But if we can, especially during our everyday life, if we can just sit back and not choose anything. So imagine waking up in the morning and just saying, I'm not going to choose happiness today. I'm just going to choose to accept whatever happens and be okay with it and deal with whatever happens. I'm just going to be okay with and be open and just respond to whatever happens today. If someone has a different opinion than me, I'm going to listen. If someone, says something I dislike, I'm just going to be okay. And I'm not going to do anything with it. So I'm not going to choose to try to stay in my state of happiness. So imagine how that would feel if you're not trying to stay a place where you think you ought to be. See, I think a lot of people and myself, when I try to be happy, when I want to be happy, when I set out on a day that this is going to be the most amazing day and this is going to be the day I'm going to be happy, this is going to be, I'm going to sort out my life, and I'm going to, by 10 o'clock in the morning, I've already lost half of the day because I've gone and eaten something I shouldn't have done, or I've not done the exercise, or I haven't done my my morning task that I was going to do. So it doesn't last long, first of all. And I certainly don't end up in a happy state. But I do end up feeling content, fulfilled, almost called unreasonable joy, you could call it, when I just don't choose something for the day. Of course, I have set out plans of what I should get done, I would like to achieve. And I tend to get most of those things done. I'm not too bad. I'm getting better. I have systems in place where I get a lot of stuff done. But I don't look at it that I've got to get it done, that my life will be over if I don't. If I don't get a podcast out on Friday, I don't get a podcast out on Friday. And okay, life isn't like depending on it. But the reality is, the more and more we try to choose happiness, the more and more it's really difficult, because we're trying to deny a side that exists. It's like as if you're trying to only choose positive friends. You're going to deny other friends that are positive at times. When we just accept life for what it is, we accept this moment for what it is, without trying to make it something else, then I think we end up by default happier anyway. I think the default position of any human is to be happy. I don't think happiness is this place that is above and beyond the normal mundane. If you're having a really, really bad day and you go to the doctors and you're diagnosed with something that you really don't want to be diagnosed with, you just want to get back to the mundane day when it was normal. That would be your current happiness, based on the relative level of where you've ended up while at the doctor's. So yeah, and I talk about this happiness line quite a bit, and I'm sure I've done a podcast on the happiness line. If I haven't, I will next week. But I think happiness is really in the mundane, and it's really in the not choosing. Don't get out of bed tomorrow morning and choose to be happy. Don't get out of bed tomorrow morning and expect your day to go a certain way. Just embrace whatever the day brings, while keeping an eye on what you should be doing and get on with what you should be doing. I'm not saying sit back and just allow the world to take control of your life. Not at all. But I'm saying don't choose the outcome of everything. Don't decide of how things should be. So I don't think happiness is a choice. I think the more we try to choose happiness, the more we'll be disappointed. That's my thoughts for today. I may not be right. Throw them away. It's only my thoughts at the moment. In a couple of years' time, hopefully I'll revisit them and I will be wrong again. Be okay with that. It's cool. Thank you for listening. If you can hit the subscribe button, it's follow on Spotify, and I think it's follow on iTunes at the moment. I think they've just changed it, or they're going to in the next update or something. And then you'll be notified when I drop a new podcast. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm trying to build up 1,000 regular listeners. That'd be just so amazing, wouldn't it? And you're part of that. You'll be helping me do that. So thank you. Just hitting the sub and subscribing on your favorite platform. It'll make my day. Thank you. Take care. This is Steven Webb, and this is Stillness in the Storms podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. I love you guys. Take care. Namaste.